let's move on to some VAR discuss, and I'll cite an example of an incident that happened against between Manchester City and Wolves, where the referee of that game, Farai Alam, who has come under fire. I mean, has been under fire since that game, right? There was a moment in the game where Omar Mamush got a pass from behind, flicked the ball backwards, and Mosquera, who was the Wolves defender, put his arms out, and the ball touched his arm. Although Mamush eventually got the ball and hit the crossbar, something like that. And the referee goes to the VAR. After a number of replays, it was obvious to the blind that this was handball because the guy's arm was in an unnatural position. The referee comes back and says, well, yes, I have watched the video after review, but I think that his arm that was stretched out is in a natural position. And since then, he has been criticized. Even Guardiola criticized him, saying that it was your first game, but you wanted the entire event to be about you going against the VAR. By going against the VAR, I mean to say.
He
The question
later
is,
came back to
referees?
apologize for it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So the question is, referees finally taking authority back from VAR? I mean, you are the one on the pitch, right? But in my opinion, I would think that your decision should be first, should be the most important one. If you think it's a penalty, then it's a penalty. Of course, this is why there have been issues in the past where reviews would have helped. Like for
right.
instance, the game against Chelsea Arsenal that AY is still salty about, where the wrong person got the red card. So something like
Mm.
that could have been reviewed, and then the right person could have been given the red card, right? So, but the question is this: Are referees finally taking authority back on VAR? AY? And was this brave, or it was just a stupid mistake?
So for me, I would start by saying that the VAR video assistant referee technology is perfect. The implementation is perfect. It's the people interpreting what they are seeing that they are making VAR a problem. Because what VAR will do is to, okay, either if you missed something that you need to come back to check, or maybe you didn't even see it, or maybe it happened and there is maybe a slight controversy around it. Now we are giving you the window to come and have a look at it, have a look from different views, have a look from different perspectives, both from your own perspective, from the perspective of the players involved, from the perspective of the ball in contention, from the perspective of maybe the manager, or from everything. That technology alone is good. Now, the people behind the technology, that's why they would say that some people will say they released a particular view to the person in the to the referee. They did not release a particular view. An angle was missing. They did not see it from this angle. That is the fault of whoever is on duty working on the VAR. The VAR itself is good. Now to your question, I would say that was actually meant to be a penalty. And Guardiola at the moment, which and for any coach, you will be salty. I can't imagine that being Ateta. You are going for the league, or you are challenging for the league, where you know that anybody, especially this season, anybody can take points off you. So whatever chance you get, whatever opportunity you get, make the most of it. Take your chances and score. Now you now have the opportunity to score. You are now being denied. The VAR they've called you. You are now being denied that opportunity. Of course, you will be sad. You want to vent out, and you want to say whatever you are meant to say. Was Guardiola right for saying what he said? I would say maybe not, but of course at the moment it was match reaction. It was still in the it was still in the his emotions were still around. It was still in the emotions, and he had to lash out. I've heard that Ateta say useless things too after the match. He will tell you the Ateta said something about the ball in competition, like the ball is different.
The color,
That was that
the color
that
of the
that was
ball.
that was why we lost the game. He would say so, and maybe
Ateta.
in the next post match conference he would be more calm, and when they ask him questions around that same situation, you would see his response would be very different than the one he gave initially. So
Yeah.
I feel people referees, assistant referees, in summary, should, if it's to take their time to they should analyze what they are meant to analyze. Of course, we've seen situations where they will take maybe 3 minutes to analyze that. We the fans will start shouting, "What are they analyzing? What are they seeing? This is very
I
obvious.
think it
This
was
is
one
this."
game, 2 or 3 games ago. They spent 6 minutes analyzing that.
Yeah. So this
Six
is what
minutes.
are you looking at? And if they need to take that time to make the right decision that we the fans and even opposition fans would agree on. For instance, if as an Arsenal fan I see that this penalty way Saliba caused na real penalty and you give the penalty, I won't be pissed at the VAR or I'll be pissed at my player
Mm,
because I
your
know that.
player, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be pissed at my
You,
because
you
I
are
know
a
that,
reasonable
okay,
Arsenal fan now.
because I know that this is this is the
And
fault
we
of the
always
player, not
stand on the
because of.
side of reason.
So for instance, if and they also need to be consistent. That is the problem we have with
Exactly.
VAR
I agree
because
with you on that.
they will say they
Today
gave
this is a
this
penalty.
they
Tomorrow
gave
it is
this
not.
they gave this to Arsenal. They did
This
not give
team,
to United. They gave this same
exactly.
issue ball to hand, and it's also ties to interpretation. And to ball, if it's the intention, how will you know the intention of a player? My intention is my intention. How will you know my intention? So it also ties to so many things, but there are some that is actually very clear and straight to the point. So to answer your question, interpretation of the VAR is actually very key.
Brown, what are your thoughts on this quickly?
I mean, for me, I personally don't think it's a question of whether or not referees are now taking back the power from VAR. However, it's also very important to mention that we have seen situations when VAR tends to interfere in games where I personally think there was really no need for it. And then the idea of bringing VAR into play in the beginning was to actually help review situations like AY mentioned where the referee may have missed something and they call his attention to it to help out with that situation. But in most cases, you would realize that VAR is literally now trying to referee the game as against
Mm-hmm.
being the
Being the
subordinate
support.
of the
Yeah.
referee in the pitch. So that is where I have the problem. So most times when you notice when it comes to handball situations, when referees are called to the screen, 90% of the time they go with the VAR, right? But in some cases, we have seen when these things are not actually meant to be that way. I'll give you an instance. I remember in Europa League last season when we were playing, Man U were playing against Lyon, if I recall well. No, it was Real Sociedad. There was this handball incident that was given against Lisandro Martinez when he was falling down. The ball struck his hand. They gave him as a red, as a penalty. It was Real Sociedad that were playing that season, right? They gave it as a penalty. The same thing happened weeks later in the Prem. It was not
They
given.
didn't give it.
So my question is, why are the why is the VAR trying to impose decisions on the referee as against allowing referees make decisions and then helping to guide them? So personally, I don't think it's a question of whether or not referees are taking back their position as being the final decision maker or VAR is trying to make decisions for them. Ultimately, yes, that particular incident involving Farah Haaland, right, in the City game, I feel like there are a lot of factors to that, but I'll speak to just the referee. He may have made a decision that was seemingly wrong on that occasion, and of course, you could argue that he did that because that was his first ever professional game. So there could also be that. However, I sometimes feel like Guardiola likes too much of this attention. When you pay coaches the amount of money they receive at up to 19 million pounds, maybe more in a single year, they sometimes tend to draw attention because they are put on a pedestal where they feel like they are above everybody else. So for Guardiola to even come out and begin to speak about the referee, I don't think there is a necessity for that, in my opinion. So Guardiola, you played your game. There has been times when decisions that was not supposed to go your way have gone your way. In those kind of cases, you don't call the referee out. But because this one did not go your way, all of a sudden you are calling out the referee. Those things are not necessary, in my opinion. And sometimes we give too much power to these coaches and make them feel like they are the all and all that. So you see similar situations with Amorim, where you make suggestions as to playing players in positions that they are comfortable with and they can deliver. And you say, even if the Pope comes here to tell you that you're not going to do it. So coaches tend to think too highly of themselves. So I don't believe.
Manchester United fans,
So yeah,
are you ever going to let this guy be?
I just believe that referees should be allowed to referee the game, and VAR should not make all the decisions for them. Full, plain and simple, full stop.
I mean, I think the most controversies have come from handballs, actually. Handballs are, there's a lot of controversy around handballs because I think despite the fact that there is a rule book, there is still no unification in interpretation, right?
I
In the
agree.
Premier League, it is slightly more difficult to give penalties from handballs than it is in the La Liga and all of that. So there's this unification that is still missing. That's a recommendation for for the lawmakers.